Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Film Rants. We have our great host here again, Hunter Carson, and our guest, Joshua Heinrichs.
Thank you so much. This is my first time on the show, obviously. I'm so glad to be here. I'm enjoying myself so much so far, so I can't wait to talk about Oscars.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just figuring out the cameras over here. Okay, Josh, you're camera 5, Pow's camera 3, I'm camera 2, and the big round table one is camera 1. Wow, I have terrible sitting posture. It's nice to be able to see myself on camera live so I can see how disgusting I look. So anyway.
All right, so the show's about film, not self-deprecating humor. But, but if you want to continue with your intro and tell us how horrible you are, Hunter, you can go ahead.
Okay, so hi, I'm Hunter. I smell bad and have weird facial hair. Today on Film Rants, we're going to be talking about a recent phenomenon. No one's ever really discussed this. It's this little award ceremony you've probably never heard of. It's, God, the camera's not even on me. I'm a terrible fucking... a quarter in the jar. We really got to get a jar for these swear words, eh? We're going to be talking about the Oscars today. The Oscars just went down 2 days ago, this past Sunday. And we're going to be going through all the nominees and the winners and talking about our reactions to them. Starting with here, why don't you pull us up the categories and we're going to go through.
Josh got the
I was
list.
going to say, I got it right here. Do you want to just voice it off?
Yeah,
Okay, so
let's
you
go.
Can take us
I
through
got
it.
a list here on the official Oscars website. And the first one is actor in a leading role. We're starting big.
So run me through real quick while I center this camera on you.
No problem. So the winner, obviously, was Joaquin Phoenix for the role of Joker. The other nominees were Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. I've seen all but Pain and Glory. What about you guys? What have you seen out of these ones?
So, yeah, I haven't seen The Two Popes or Pain and Glory. I've seen all the other ones. I mean... As far as I can tell, at least from the trailers for the movies, because obviously when they get nominated, I at least check out the trailers if I have the time. But I think that Jonathan Pryce's performance must have been nominated because he's a very established actor and it was very low key, but it doesn't have the same energy. And I kind of want to talk about, do we think that Joaquin Phoenix won because Joker was a very popular billion-dollar movie and the Oscars are intent on bringing in more viewership, and so they want to be like, hey, let's nominate the most recognizable guy playing the most recognizable character? Or do you think there actually was some real artistic merit that put Joaquin ahead of the competition?
I would say yes and. Mainly because Joaquin Phoenix's role is very showy. It's very, acting, you know what I mean? It's oh, look, he's laughing crazily. He's dancing all the time. It's very much of a showy role. Whereas something like Jonathan Pryce, for example, is much more understated and subtle, and much more of a conversation. A very much more of a subtle piece.
What kind of performances do you prefer? The subtle ones or the showy ones?
Personally, I like a nice mix of both. For example, if I would have voted for Adam Driver, I think he was fantastic. And
I was going to say I was
so
surprised he didn't get it because Marriage Story is a much more real feeling performance than I think Joker was. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say all you need to do to get an Oscar nomination now is just, play the Joker and act crazy on set. But there is a lot of work that goes into it.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't say Joaquin was bad.
Yeah.
He just wasn't my favorite.
No.
And Joaquin is a fantastic actor. I think he's been great in many other things, like The Master. He's superb in. Sure, Joker wasn't my favorite out of these. I still like the movie a lot. But even Leonardo, I liked a lot of the movie. He's very much of he's kind of subtle too, but over the top at the same time at some points. It's much more of a showy in the way that emotionally he's very showy. But I wouldn't say he's outrageous like a Joker is, or previous winners like Darkest Hour for Gary Oldman. He's very showy in that.
Yeah, well, Gary Oldman, that's a win because, he inhabited a very famous character and, went through a lot of, I think weight gain and prosthetics.
I think it's a bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of both to get that. And I know the Academy, they just eat that up,
Which is what Joaquin did too. He lost a crap ton of weight.
That's true.
Pao, what do you think? I'm assuming you've seen Joker, have you, or no?
Have you seen the Oscar-nominated film Joker?
I actually have not.
Have you seen any of
Joker,
these
no.
movies?
Yeah,
that are
pal.
listed?
Do you watch movies, pal?
I do watch movies. Yes.
No, you don't.
You must have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Have you?
I have not.
Oh,
no.
okay.
Wow.
I've been a little bad this year. I haven't really been checking out as many movies as I should have.
So what would you put here instead, out of the ones you've seen?
Can you recap the list? Sorry, I was figuring out some technical difficulties.
So the winner was Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, then Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Is there any you've seen so far that you think, oh, that should have been there?
So I've actually got The Two Popes on my to-watch list. It's the next movie. I'm probably going to watch it tonight. And I think that Jonathan Pryce's, I mean, I can't say because I haven't seen the movie yet, but Jonathan Pryce's performances are normally very low-key. He only plays, like, supporting roles, and, I mean, the role that he's played that I can remember the most is probably, like, Elizabeth Swan's father.
Everyone knows him from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Or Red Sparrow
in
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He's
High
Sparrow,
I was
sorry, not Red Sparrow.
I was going to say, he was in
Sorry.
Red Sparrow?
No,
really?
no, High Sparrow, sorry, my mistake.
He's always just this nice gentleman who gets caught in the middle of fire, and I'm intrigued to see what he does for this one because, to my understanding, he plays the new Pope.
Yeah,
right?
He plays.
And Anthony
Pope
Hopkins plays the previous
Francis.
Pope.
Correct. Yes. The movie is very much about these two guys talking, and that's the highlight of the movie when they're debating, because they have so much more different viewpoints of what the church should become and that sort of thing. So it's very interesting just hearing them talk, and when it doesn't focus on that, the film kind of suffers.
Is it based off like real people?
Yeah, it's based off the real Pope Francis and Pope Benedict.
Okay.
So,
who in
Jonathan
real
Pryce-
life are very different people.
Yeah, they're very different people, but they're friends. They see each other often. In the movie, you can tell they have a connection, and they have a genuine respect for each other, even if they disagree wildly about what the church should go. But
I'm not sure about his performance because I haven't seen the movie, but I do think that it is a very good casting choice because of how the actual Pope Francis is in real life, and his charitable nature, and his policies, if you can call them that, within the church have been more towards like acceptance and towards a more modern a more modern interpretation of the scriptures and about inclusion of people who in the past have been in the marginalized areas and were not welcomed by the church. So I do think that that it is a good casting choice.
well, you seem knowledgeable on that stuff. I think you'll like the movie a lot because it does especially.
If you're
with what
watching it
talking
tonight,
about.
do let us know how it is on next week's show, because I'd be interested in getting your take on it. What's the next category? Let's move on for time
here is actor in a supporting role.
Okay,
so
run me through that again.
So we have Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah,
who won.
He won. Yeah, I loved Brad Pitt. I've
yeah.
got a story about that. I'll tell you guys later. But
Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Anthony Hopkins in The Two Popes, Al Pacino in The Irishman, and Joe Pesci in The Irishman. I've seen all these movies. Brad Pitt is definitely the best, and I'm glad he won.
yeah, I think all those other roles, I've seen all the other ones as well. They're all, or not the Two Popes, I should say. I've seen like The Irishman and what was the
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Beautiful
Tom
Day
Hanks.
in the Neighborhood. I've seen that one too. And I think, yeah, they're all very low-key, understated roles. And I think Hollywood is trying to get... It's now become popular vote, I'd like to say, more so than, pure, raw artistic talent. Brad
If that
Pitt,
was true, Al Pacino would have won.
it was, but Al Pacino put in a very oddball performance.
It's
and
very Al Pacino.
It's a very Al Pacino. It's really short of him just doing a great ass thing on camera.
Which is very much... I like Joe Pesci better in The Irishman compared to Al Pacino, because Al Pacino
You know what,
is
yeah.
very much... what's the word? Like, with type. But Joe Pesci is very against
Joe
type.
Pesci is
And Joe Pesci's great.
He's a character actor. That
Yeah.
guy can do a lot. He's got crazy range. But I think Brad Pitt is a very crowd pleasing performance. After walking out of the theater, which, by the way, did I ever tell you guys that I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the theater it was shot? Isn't that
Yes.
so crazy? Have
Yes.
I ever mentioned that before?
You have, yes.
So anyway, yeah, I ended up, I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I ended up completely on accident going to my meeting the next day wearing blue jeans, a white Champion shirt, and a yellow button-down left open. And I walk in, and the first thing one of my buddies says to me is like, "Wow, little Brad Pitt over here," and I'm like, "Oh shit, this movie has an effect on you." And
I think the strength of a performance is if you remember their name.
Yeah, that's the thing. I will always remember Cliff Booth, the character, and that's why I knew Brad Pitt was going to take home the Oscar. What about you, pal? You haven't seen it though, yeah?
I have not seen it, but it is the Tarantino film of the year,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
That's so odd though that you of all people have not seen the Tarantino film.
But also, if you want to win,
for those people who don't know me, I am a big Tarantino fan. I've seen almost every single film that he's made, and but it is true that when Django came out, I was late to watching it, and when Hateful Eight came out, I was also late to watching it. Even though once I did get to watching them, I was very pleased, and they were both movies that I greatly appreciated. I am fashionably late to this one as well because, well, you know,
just because you missed a chance.
Yeah,
That's okay. Watching movies late is all good. I never saw like none of Tarantino's until recently. I've been catching up, so I saw this one in theaters. It was great. But also, if you want to win a supporting actor award and you're an actor, work with Tarantino.
Yeah,
because Christoph Waltz won twice, and now Brad Pitt. So clearly, if you want to win a supporting actor award, just go with Brad Pitt.
Well, I think Tarantino, he likes
Brad Pitt, Quentin Tarantino. Sorry.
he definitely likes to give the more outlandish roles in his movies to the supporting guys. I think he's got a trend in his movies where the main character is always very straight-laced, and it's the side characters that really steal the show.
Absolutely. On to the next category?
Yeah, let's go on to the next one for time.
This is actress in a leading role.
Okay.
So, Renee Zellweger won for Judy. Then it was Cynthia Erivo for Harriet. Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story. Saoirse Ronan, I think I said that right. Saoirse Ronan for Little Women. And Charlize Theron for Bombshell.
Okay, so Charlize Theron, I'm going to jump right in and say I think her performance was great, but she was definitely nominated because it's one of those things we were talking about earlier, a transformative role.
So I haven't seen Bombshell.
Yeah,
so
I
can't speak to it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Judy. Wow, we're really.
I've seen Judy.
Okay, tell me about Judy because I was really hedging my bet on Scarlett Johansson because this is a woman that has like made her career now, the mid part of it, out of just playing big Hollywood, Black Widow superhero, and going into a really raw emotional drama and just acting the hell out of it. Like there was some amazing grade A acting, capital A acting in that film. I was surprised they gave it to Judy, but tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I'll tell you that Scarlett Johansson should have won.
Oh, really?
Renee Zellweger carries this movie. The movie's very boring and very cookie cutter and kind of shot just boring. But Judy Garland is just okay in it. The main thing is that... Sorry, we're just hearing a noise all of a sudden. Sorry about that, guys.
Something's bobbing up and down on the mic.
Anyways.
That's so crazy.
Renee Zellweger is fine. I think the problem is mostly the script with the movie. It just doesn't give her enough to do. Mm-hmm. So when she's actually really trying to get this performance, it's just like hand-fisted by a supporting performance that just comes out of nowhere. And it's just kind of like a whatever movie. It reminded me a lot of Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh, yeah. Just of how it was just clearly like a showcase for this actor. In the movie.
Well, isn't Marriage Story just a showcase for two actors?
I would disagree with that because I think there's a lot of merit with the editing and the cinematography in that movie and the story just itself and what the themes are.
I did notice the editing was really good. Did it get can we skip ahead and did it get nominated for best editing?
It was snubbed. It should have been.
Yeah, because I remember that intro, Marriage Story, really grabbed me. How rapid fire that whole montage was.
I agree. It should have been nominated.
That was something. I wasn't expecting that.
But if you want to, does anyone want to say anything about supporting actress other than what we talked about? Pal, have you seen any of the movies that were nominated?
Yeah, pal, how are you on this show again? How did you get to be here?
I pitched it.
Excuse me, sorry. But we'll go on to film editing because now we're on the topic.
Sure.
So the winner was Ford v Ferrari,
which I called in my Letterboxd review. I called it. I was watching that final Le Mans sequence, and I'm like, this is going to win best editing. I guarantee it. And
we can talk about it. Irishman was also nominated by Thelma Shoemaker, the legendary editor.
Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit, Tom Eagles. Joker, Jeff Croft. And Parasite, Yan Jinmo. If I'm saying that right. Sorry, Yan Jinmo, if I'm saying your name wrong.
Way to mispronounce a foreign name, you racist.
So Parasite should have won for this award.
Really?
Handedly. It should have won it.
What?
Ford v Ferrari, out of all these, I think are the most uninteresting movies in the all, and I think it's just generically edited.
Well,
like, of course, like the one with the car chases that are interesting is the one that's nominated.
Oh, that's where I'm
thinking of
going to have to disagree with you.
Like, think of the sequences that are in both. The fact that The Irishman is 3.5 hours long, and it does feel its length, but it doesn't feel horrible.
A lot of
amazing.
I have my gripes with The Irishman. I am on the record having not being the one person who didn't give it a full 5 stars on Letterboxd.
Hey, I didn't either. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 because I thought Thelma was really lacking on the editing.
I think it's fantastic.
Maybe it's just Scorsese in the script where it's like that they couldn't give up certain things. But I'm just like,
movie.
Trim it.
I think the problem is that you don't get what the point of the movie is until the last half an hour. That's the main thing. And it's really if you're impacted by that last half an hour or not, if you really like the movie or not. But then Jojo Rabbit, I remember like the way it transitions from like certain tones, I think is really key to the editing. Joker, I mean, is okay editing wise.
Yeah, Joker's fine.
And then Parasite, the scenes in this movie that are so well edited, like the whole peach scene, the way like they go down to the tunnel.
I think it's shot really well, but there's nothing crazy about the editing.
The editing creates the pacing of these montages that are amazing to me.
I would disagree. I'd say that Ford v Ferrari is also an incredibly long movie, not as long as The Irishman, but it works because the editing keeps it feeling so fresh. Like. Yep. I had to turn to my buddy who I was seeing the movie with the first time I saw it and be like, wow, if this was edited like any differently, this would be boring. Because like ask the Fast and Furious franchise, there's only so many times you can see someone change the shift on a car and put the pedal to the metal and accelerate. And
NOS, baby, NOS.
Yeah, and the fact that they made it exciting, basically, how long was that last like final sequence at Le Mans?
It must have been. To me, it felt like maybe an hour, but it must have been like 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
Was it 30 minutes straight up just driving?
The whole last act was there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just talking about the racing parts.
Oh, the racing parts.
I think if the racing parts hadn't worked, the movie wouldn't have worked.
That's true.
You know, I mean, sure, you can make an argument for the emotional drama and the impact and all that, fancy character stuff. But if it had been a boring movie, it would have been kind of slotted in underneath all the other pretentious, Oscar dreck that's trying to get nominated. So I think it was well deserved.
The other thing that's weird about picking editing is if it's good editing, you don't notice it.
That's
so it's
true,
weird to award something that you don't notice. Yeah, maybe that's why I don't like Ford v Ferrari, because I didn't notice it.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why I don't like Parasite, because I
love that.
I thought the editing was so slick.
I don't know. I appreciate that though. Anyway,
yeah.
Pal, what do you think? You've actually seen Parasite. I know that.
I have actually seen Parasite.
So what do you think of
Talk
the
about the
In fact, I finished watching Parasite about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Jeez. Initial impressions on Parasite. We're shifting gear to a review.
Wow. I think... Okay. I have a 2-part review. I think the movie was amazing. Mm-hmm. I think that everybody on the crew did a great job. The acting is superb. The story is not surprisingly lacking. I thought for a movie that long with the plot that I had kind of read about, it would feel very long and very empty, and yet the performances make it not feel that way. But I don't know if it is as good as much praise as the Oscar.
Do we want to
gave
just
it.
go ahead and talk about Best Picture? Do we want to move on?
No, we're going to build up to this one.
Okay,
I really want to build up to this one.
We have time.
Well, I mean, I think Parasite, the discussion of it will just come with Best Picture. So why don't we, I think we should put it on hold and just go on to another category.
I've messed up your
All right, the guest is taking over the show.
Sorry, I just want to make, let's go ahead.
It's completely reasonable.
I mean, if you want to just talk about Best Picture, I just think...
No, we'll leave it for the end, just like in the actual ceremony.
All right, so... next on the list is actress in a supporting role. Laura Dern won for this one for Marriage Story. Then it was okay. We can fight about that. Kathy Bates.
Should we?
About the movie anyway. Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. Get that out of there. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit.
Jewell?
Florence Pugh for Little Women, and Margot Robbie for Bombshell. Laura Dern deserved this win. She was amazing in the movie. I know you're like, oh, Holdo is bad. But
no,
like,
I don't.
I'm talking to Pal.
Star Wars.
I'm talking to Pal. But that's all I'm gonna say about it. Laura Dern is fantastic in the movie. She clearly really, what's the word? Like just this small part that's like really doesn't deserve the depth it has so much depth to it.
Yeah,
and
no
just the
small
way
parts.
her physicality in it just tells so much about her. She was fantastic in it. The other person I would say deserves it is Florence Pugh. She's fantastic in Little Women.
Is it too late to say that I think Florence Pugh was nominated for the wrong movie?
I haven't seen Midsummer, so I would kind of say.
There you go. That should have been a Midsummer
win
right there.
I think, well, that would be Best Actress, though, not Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Good point.
But she's fantastic in Little Women. She balances the role of like a 20-year-old, and then she also plays, I think, around like 12, 14 at some points, and she balances it really well. And compared to some of the other actors, in the movie, especially Emma Watson, she balances it perfectly, and you feel for her, and she's so natural in it. She was fantastic. I really like Little Women a lot. But anyone else? Have you seen any of these movies listed, Pal?
The list is Marriage Story,
Richard Jewell, Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, and Bombshell.
I've not seen Jojo Rabbit, but I have seen a lot about it. Like I've seen videos about it, and I've seen like people talk about it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
From the trailers and the videos that I've seen about it, I do think that Scarlett Johansson's performance is very out of her comfort zone in a way. She does
accent.
She is not only because of an accent, but because she is playing. In a way, to me, it felt. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know the characters well, but it felt like she was playing a single mother.
You're right.
To a kid who is troubled because of his identity as a German.
You got it smack on, by the way.
And he doesn't know if he. Well, I'm really good at psychological analyzing.
Analyze from a trailer.
Yeah, I'm a psychological manipulator, but All right. Apart from that.
So anyway.
Yeah, I do think that. Also, the imagery of the film. I mean, you know that I look at images more so than performances because of the kind of person that I am. But I do think that, from what I've seen, she did a great job.
Well, I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a scene in it that relies on her character, but it's not because of her acting, is it? It's not because of her acting that is good. I'll say that much. Though she was good in it, and I think she deserved it. Sadly, I haven't seen that much supporting actress roles that I think are really worthy, other than Laura Dern and Florence Pugh. Like, I haven't seen the rest of them, and I can't think of any on the top of my head, which is sad. I wish there was more obvious ones, but.
Yeah. No, I think Florence Pugh was great in both big movies that she was in this year. But yeah, no, I'd give it to Laura Dern.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say there's any remarkable supporting actresses in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, Margot Robbie. She should have been nominated instead of Bombshell.
Should she have, though?
Yes, I understand. There's the debate over
what
what her role is in the movie, and if she has much, she doesn't have much to do, but that's the point. She's much more of like a metaphor and
kind of a bad point, though.
Well, no, but
that's the point. Okay.
No.
I find
let me explain. But it's much more of like you're seeing her image is the hope of Hollywood. You know what I mean? So seeing her having not much of a character, it makes sense within the context of the movie. To me, anyways. I understand though why people would be angry, but that's just to me, anyways. Sorry, what were you gonna say, pal?
I was just gonna say that I find that normally in movies, like in Tarantino films, you either get a really, really good main female role,
yeah,
or you get a very, very good support male role.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, he doesn't have any. I can't think of any remarkable female support roles because like let's go through them. I mean,
Well,
we
Jennifer
have
Jason Leigh in Hateful Eight, maybe.
we have what? Sorry.
Jennifer Jason Leigh in Hateful Eight, the crazy woman.
I mean, it is
haven't
an
seen the movie,
all
but I
right
was there.
production, but an all right performance, but it just feels masked because there are so many characters in every scene. It just doesn't feel like a remarkable one. And if we go back, like let's say Reservoir Dogs has like almost no female
I
representation.
don't think it has any female characters. Neither does Pulp Fiction, right? Well,
No,
Mia,
Pulp Fiction has
Uma
Mia,
Thurman.
that's
but
true. Mia Wallace, but is she really
but in a way,
She's worthy, I
Mia
think.
Mia
a powerful,
is a main.
strong female character?
No, but she's still good in the movie.
Oh, I'm not talking about powerful, strong female characters. I'm just talking about
Because
worthwhile.
I'm like Inglorious Bastards has that in spades.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah,
then,
I forget the actress's name.
Right after that, Django comes out, and Kerry Washington has like nothing to do in that movie, and it's
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's not her story.
That's
you know what
true,
I mean? Like,
yeah.
she still does well in the movie.
yeah,
That's a debate for another time, maybe, and not for the show.
Yeah, I
but-
wouldn't say Tarantino is a Christopher Nolan where he just doesn't put women in his movies.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think that I think that the Oscars are they get it right for the most part in the acting categories. Anyway,
Somewhat.
what's the next category?
The
We
next,
gotta move on.
the
for
next
time.
one is animated feature film.
Yeah,
we can-
so it
Toy
wasn't.
Story 4
It
won this
wasn't
one.
close.
It wasn't Klaus,
It
which is
wa-
sad.
It wasn't close.
I wish it was. I don't know. I've seen them all, but like other than Toy Story 4 and Klaus, I don't think there's much to talk about with the other ones. At least to me,
Nah.
they're just okay. Klaus is great. It's very like classic Disney.
Yeah, that's why I liked it.
And then Toy Story 4 is Toy Story 4.
Klaus was
is
actually-
classic Disney, like flaws and all though. The whole
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, flaws.
the
in it.
liar reveal, like okay.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
hate the frickin' liar reveal trope, man.
I
That
know,
is, like,
I
the
know.
most annoying thing in movies.
Yeah.
That I have to put up with.
I know.
But like, I get it. It's a children's film. It's a Christmas film.
Yeah.
But like, come on. You
couldn't think of
you're
another
gonna, You're
way?
gonna up the standards for animation. You're not gonna do it for storytelling.
Yeah. But yeah, other than have you seen Toy Story 4 or any of you? I'm assuming you have, Hunter. I'm not sure if Pal has. Have you seen Toy Story 4?
I actually have not, but
Okay.
consciously because I refuse to ruin the image that Toy Story has
It-
in my
Toy
my
Story
head.
4 is fine though.
Yeah, Toy Story 4. It doesn't ruin anything.
I don't know. Toy Story 3 was pretty bad.
As a
Whoa,
and-
what?
As a cinematographer, though, you will love Toy Story 4.
Okay.
They do a lot to make it look like a live-action film in some places.
Are we gonna ignore that Pal just said Toy Story 3 was a bad movie?
Well, you know, a man's entitled to his own wrong opinion. It's just like,
Look, I grew up watching Toy Story.
I just don't like.
I watched Toy Story probably over 250 times in 1 year once. I was a weird kid. And I proceeded to do it with Star Wars A New Hope the year after, but, you know, people evolve. I have to say that after what Toy Story 3 did to me when I watched it as an older kid, I cannot bear to, like, ruin my impressions of what my childhood looked like and the film that basically built my childhood onto it. Because
but it won't, though, because it respects your childhood.
it does.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, so they did
that's why
go
everyone
back.
likes the movie. It respects your childhood.
So it's not Rise of Skywalker.
I think I'm confused. Maybe we should. I don't understand. What do you mean? What do you not like about Toy Story 3? I'm confused.
Do you hate good things?
Like I'm trying to think of what like you mean by it doesn't.
Toy
it doesn't
Story
respect-
3, in a way, to me, just feels like The Force Awakens. It just feels like you're trying to reboot a franchise that doesn't need to be rebooted
More like
for
you're trying to end the franchise.
for
You're
a
trying to
younger-
send it off on a high note.
for a
They like
younger
money.
audience that should just get original content
I
or
think-
watch the older ones.
I think the younger audience are still watching the original Toy Story. Disney animated features and Pixar animated features to that extent. They're still very much in the Zoomer zeitgeist, you know? They're not going anywhere.
I think the argument would be good for Toy Story 4. I just don't think Toy Story 3. Like you have an amazing villain in that. You have a great like story for Woody and Buzz in that, and just like humor in that, and the creative ways they use jokes, and just the setup of how, you know, they're in this daycare and it's like a prison rescue movie. It's I don't know, it's creative.
Didn't it copy like exactly off The Great Escape?
I haven't seen The Great Escape, but I mean that would make sense.
wow.
And
And
I know, I'm
you
a
call
film-
me out for not watching some of these.
I think I'm just no. That's fair. That's fair. That's true.
Silence.
But I think Pal would love this one. This next category,
Oh,
cinematography.
Hey,
Oh, yes.
The winner, Roger
Yeah.
Deakins.
So can we just say I wanted to say predicted, but I also saw The Lighthouse and I was like, That's some damn good cinematography.
Yeah, I agree there, but I think that's the Pal gush about Roger Deakins.
Go
ahead, buddy.
We're talking about Roger Deakins.
All right. So, Roger Deakins. When I saw him at the gala, I was like, hell yeah, he's there to get the prize. Like, he didn't just come in to sit down and watch all these plebs do their own show. I was kind of surprised that he didn't have like any sort of speech. Like, he kind of just said thank you to everybody. I was happy that he thanked his crew. Normally, like, a focus puller is not someone who is addressed on a gala like the Oscars. Like, he really wanted to emphasize on the technical quality that his film has, which is due because if you've seen 1917, I know you guys have seen it, but I don't know if the audience has seen it.
Specifically, if you've seen the flare sequence, and I'll never shut up about that.
Or the entire movie.
The entire movie is a very, very impressive movie, but that flare sequence really elevates it to above and beyond, as it were.
The film is calculated, is designed, it's measured. It is a work of science by an artist. That's how I would define it.
That's a good
way to put it.
It is a giant opera put on the trenches of France. I don't know where the movie was actually shot, but I know that they did build the sets to the length that it would take that the characters like that amount of time to run this distance, and that's how long the takes would be because of the whole one take idea. Apart from the fact that I'm a huge Roger Deakins fan, I do think that he deserves the prize because I just think that he did an amazing job, and that's who I aspire to be. So for me, seeing him grab that prize, I know it's not his first, but it was a well-deserved prize. Yeah.
Just for context, the other nominees were The Irishman, Joker, The Lighthouse, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, those were all fine.
Those are all good. Other than The Lighthouse, 1917 is clearly the exceptional one.
The Lighthouse and 1917 are the real masterpieces.
Yeah, not saying that those other movies are not well shot. They are, but it's not 1917 or The Lighthouse.
I feel that the trend is they're very rich feeling. The cinematography is rich. The colors are very vivid. It's not like, it doesn't look like a 2014 music video. Everything's shot in log and just washed out.
I'm surprised that Parasite was not in that category because after watching it, I do think that I don't know the name of the cinematographer, so forgive me.
I'll look him up.
I think that his work on the movie was actually very, very interesting because he found a way to bring in color into the film, which is something that 1917 lacks for most of the film, except for the flare scene.
Well, that's not color, that's light. I think 1917 plays more with light than it does
color.
If you get specific color, it's based on light, but...
Sure.
So the cinematographer is Han Kunipo, I believe is how you say it.
Okay.
He shot a bunch of other Korean movies, Snowpiercer, Burning, and Mother.
He's worked with Bond.
So he's worked for Bond before, yeah.
Okay.
But it was fantastic, yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I think cinematography that was a shoe in this year. Everyone knew it was going to be 19. Because as the old adage goes, if you want an Oscar for cinematography,
do one take.
Make a one-take movie.
Yeah.
Just make a beautiful looking war movie. If you can turn something as horrible as war into something that looks visually appealing, like...
Question: did Saving Private Ryan win the Oscar?
Great question. I can look that up after.
I know it was the best movie of the year.
Absolutely, like it was won Best Picture instead of Shakespeare in Love. What a joke!
Well, that was like Weinstein and Academy voter politics.
Exactly for a joke. That's a joke.
But it was the best directed movie, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes, it's Steve Berg won his second. Yeah. I can look up if it won cinematography, but
yeah, sure.
We'll do the fact checker during the next
category. Yeah.
Costume design. This will be quick. Little Women won. The nominees were Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the previously mentioned Little Women.
Yeah, so period piece, but
period piece.
I think
it's deserved.
I think it's deserved.
But Once Upon a Time, I think, is more iconic.
I agree, but that's because Tarantino has this energy where everything he makes is iconic.
That's true. Good point.
But it's like I have no bearing on costume design. It's one of those categories like best animated short film that I can only say okay.
That's true. When we get there, I'm just gonna. I've seen some of them. But
you have okay,
I've
all
seen some
right.
of them.
I only see the ones that come before the Disney movies. I'm not patrician enough to actively seek out types of stuff like that. But yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, we'll skip directing for now because I think directing, original screenplay, and
we'll come back to that. We'll have the bong discussion.
Documentary feature. I've seen none of these, but American Factory, The Cave, Edge of Democracy, For Sama, and Honeyland were nominated, and American Factory won. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't.
I haven't seen.
Have you seen
any of them?
No comment.
The trailers look very interesting, though.
Yeah.
I actually really am curious about the learning how to skateboard in.
Yeah, that's the short one.
What is
That's
it?
for documentary short. Yeah, I think it's called. I'll scroll down later. I think it's called
Learning how to skateboard in Afghanistan for a girl.
Yeah, if you're a
woman.
girl, yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, I haven't seen any of the documentary features, so I can't comment. But American Factory is produced by the Obamas. I know that. So Obama's got an Oscar. Yay.
Hey.
Here we go. Yeah, short subject. So learning to skateboard in a war zone if you're a girl. That's the name of the movie, and it won.
That name is almost as lengthy as Hunter the Film Critic.
I was gonna say, or Birds of Prey, and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. But that one won. Then the other nominees were In Absence, Life Overtakes Me, St. Louis Superman, and Walk, Run, Cha Cha. Have you seen any of these, guys?
No.
I actually have. I've seen,
then please talk about it.
So
I
haven't seen the winner. I've seen In Absence, Life Overtakes Me, and Walk, Run, Cha Cha. In Absence is about that South Korean cruise ship crash that happened a little while ago.
Okay.
It felt like a documentary that should have waited 3 years to come out because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger where it's like we don't know all the information yet, and especially for the story that they're telling about basically the government not doing their part to save this cruise ship and all these students. I feel like they should have waited to figure out what more of the mystery was.
How long is the documentary?
It's half an hour.
Oh, okay.
Life Overtakes Me. That's about 40 minutes. That one's about this syndrome where basically these kids refugees who basically overwhelmed with stress sort of shut down and they almost go into a coma-like state. And it's basically just about like the amount of stress that these refugees have to go through when they come to the country and how it affects these children.
I was about to make a joke about exam season, but that's actually kind of a serious issue.
Yeah, it's serious, yeah. And I didn't know about it at first, so it was weird to see and interesting. But my favorite one was Walk, Run, Cha Cha, and it's about this elderly couple who both immigrated from the Vietnam War, and one went earlier, like 6 years earlier, and then the other one went later, and they were reconnected, but they found that they lost their like touch, you know what I mean? Like they lost their romantic like spirit. So then they used dancing to reconnect. And it's very sweet. But none of them were amazing, at least to me. They're all good, but yeah, that's all I can say about it.
Next category.
Film editing, we mentioned. International feature film, we can say.
Oh, okay. That was like, I was calling that 5 minute, like, the lead up. I'm just like.
Oh, of course. Of course it's Parasite.
Parasite.
Yeah.
Parasite.
Makeup and hairstyling. Or styling. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, remind me of these ones.
So, Bombshell 1.
Okay. Well, I'll get into why I think that's deserved in a minute, but go through the other categories.
The other nominees were Joker, Judy, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and 1917. I think 1917 should have won, but I haven't seen Bombshell.
For
so
makeup and hairstyling?
Sure.
Explain yourself.
Because there are some nice looking dead bodies in it. Like I'm with you with costume design. Like I don't know anything about
that's more the prop department though. I mean,
is it? Well, they made some good looking dead bodies.
Can I explain that Bombshell literally went through the effort not just of casting actresses that looked like the characters, but meticulously using they didn't have access to normal footage, so they had to get like iPhone pictures and like Snapchat photos to like recreate the set. That's a different thing, but to actually take the makeup department and go one step and beyond to make Charlize Theron actually look like what was the name?
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly. Like when I saw her in the trailer, I said to myself, is that's Charlize Theron? But I'm like, it's not though. And then her name popped up at the end. I'm like, holy God, that is. That's the level of effort the movie went in, that it fooled me. I'm like the biggest Charlize Theron fan, and I didn't recognize her. That's like, I even recognized Gary Oldman the second I saw him in the trailer for Darkest Hour. Mm-hmm. Charlize Theron was invisible under that makeup.
I'm pretty sure it's the same person too.
Really? The same artist?
The same artist.
No way, look it up. That's crazy.
No, I'm pretty sure. I remember. Kazuhiro, I'm pretty sure. Whatever their company is, did the makeup for Darkest Hour too.
That's incredible.
Next is music original score. The winner was Joker.
Yeah.
The nominees were Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, can I just say right off the bat, I'm also a huge music guy. Like, I'll listen to film soundtracks while I'm like working out at the gym or like in the shower. And
so you worked out to Joker. Is that what you're saying?
I definitely worked out. I was like,
gotta work out that anxiety and that aggressivity.
I was hitting the bench to that incel energy.
Yeah, yeah. Which is funny because it's written or it's composed by a woman. Which is the funniest part.
No women allowed in my Joker movie. Normies, get out. No, but actually, 1917, like. The score, it works in the movie, but if you listen to it isolated, it's so cheesy and over the top and on the nose. There's no subtlety or anything to it. It's like someone poorly tried to imitate the Dunkirk score with like the energy of John Williams, and it just completely doesn't work. Like the one track, when Schofield's running away from the Germans after that whole church sequence. I think it's called Englander, is a German name. Mm-hmm. Englander. It's like this really generic action track, and it just gets so like the music. I don't know how to describe music because I'm not a composer, but it has this feeling of self-seriousness and pretentiousness to it in the final action build-up where you're just like, okay, we get it. He's running. It's crazy. It's chaotic. But yeah, I was just shocked that it was nominated.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about the score, but later it won an award, which I know a lot of people's complaints were about a certain thing, but then it won an award for it, which was sound mixing. Which is weird. Like, people were saying the score was overbearing, and then it won sound mixing.
You always give sound mixing to the Lattice movie. No, the War movie. It's same with Hacksaw Ridge, and did Fury win sound mixing? I think
no, it was. Well, what year did Fury come out?
In 2014.
No, it was Interstellar.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But yeah, I think that score. I think Joker has a good score. But sorry, Rise of Skywalker. I know that's a controversial pick, but I think John Williams has really been like, he was lacking in the past two movies.
Yeah.
This one, I think he really hits it though. I think this new Star Wars movie really hits.
I could not disagree more.
I mean, okay, I think like right from the first scene in the theater watching that, I'm like, wow, the pacing in this is atrocious, but John Williams is just going ham on the score. He's giving it his all. He knows this movie sucks.
I know, but I can remember themes and like certain tracks from Force Awakens and Last Jedi. Can you name or remember one track?
Yeah, the track is literally called The Rise of Skywalker. It's like a combination of it's from the ending, the whole montage of all the Imperial ships blowing up and everything.
The portal scene from Avengers Endgame, that part? Is that where, like, basically the Avengers scene?
Yeah, the scene that copied the portal scene.
Don't be dissing that scene. It has the most nargastic.
No. I like the scene. I just don't like how Rise of Skywalker copies it.
Should have been? No, I was going to say Avengers Endgame shouldn't have been nominated.
Oh, I think it should.
For score, really?
Yeah,
for score.
Because but that's the thing. People only remember portals.
So, at least it's memorable. Like, I think Little Women should have won this, personally. Anyways, original song we can skip because whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Production design went to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
which I knew it. I knew it. Like, I saw the behind the scenes feature where they talked about how they just like took chunks out of like Westwood and the Bruin and like meticulously down to like the posters in the windows and like the style of trash cans they had on the street would go in and change it. Like, just I think it's a budget thing. Sometimes it's just pay to win.
Yeah,
But-
I guess so. Yeah.
But the budget on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really comes through in the set design. The second I saw it was nominated, I'm like, it's gonna take the
Yeah.
cake.
The other nominees were The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, 1917, and Parasite.
Yeah,
Nope.
I think Jojo Rabbit had good set
Yeah, I
design.
would say Parasite.
Par-
Because they
Paras-
built the house.
It was a very sleek house.
You shook your head no, pal. You don't think Parasite deserved production design? They
If
built
we're-
that house. It looks
look,
so impressive.
If we're comparing Parasite to 1917 and we're comparing it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like
Yeah.
these are period films that have heavy production design work, heavy prop and set and lighting and all that stuff. Parasite is a very beautiful looking film, but I don't think that the production design is the area where it excels.
I guess a
like,
good point.
so I do agree with Hunter that it was well picked. It was well awarded.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the movie and I haven't seen the behind the scenes, so I don't know if it was pay to win. But
Anyways, the other nominees, there are short film animated movies, short film live action. I've seen them.
All of them?
For the sake of brevity, because I think we should talk about Parasite soon.
Oh, we will talk about Parasite.
And I think it'll be a longer conversation. But short film went to Hair Love, and live action short went to The Neighbor's Window. I saw both of them. They're pretty good. That's all I'll say. Sound editing and sound mixing. We mentioned briefly sound mixing went to 1917.
And I thought it was going to go to Ford v Ferrari.
And sound editing went to Ford v Ferrari, which is weird.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me, because I would think it would go to like 1917, because that would be explosions.
Sound editing, so I've always been kind of confused on the difference between sound editing and sound mixing. Sound editing is creating like
Correct.
new original stuff, like what
Correct.
Ben Burt did for Star Wars. Okay,
Correct.
Sound
The creation
mixing
of
is
the sounds.
mixing it all together.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I would say Uncut Gems has fantastic sound mixing.
Yeah.
Because the way it balances the dialogue and
Yeah,
stuff
how
like that.
you can hear what everyone's saying, even though there's like 5 people talking over each other.
And it's not overwhelming. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that has superb mixing. Whereas editing, something like a Star Wars and stuff like that would make sense for it, because they're creating the sounds.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's deserved, I guess.
I don't, but
Whatever.
I think Ford v Ferrari is really like, aside from cinematography, Ford v Ferrari is the biggest technical masterpiece of this awards season. I'm a huge James Mangold stan, so I'll stand by that.
That's all I'll say. Anyway, visual effects, 1917 won.
Yeah, why?
Because they had to hide all the tracks from the car.
That's easy though. The scene where Schofield, right when the shot where the camera goes through the window and starts following him down the street, you can see the tracks in the thing. I saw a
Can you?
behind the scenes video
Oh,
where
that's
they were
hilarious.
explaining. So we got this shot by having the camera operators follow the actor, and then they hop into a car and drive away. And the second he said that, I'm just like, oh, now I'm going to look at the ground. I looked at the ground and I said, there's some tire tracks there.
They probably just don't want to give it to a Disney movie.
Well, what were the other nominees?
So the other nominees were Avengers Endgame,
Yeah.
The Irishman, The Lion King, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So
Ooh,
really, out of those,
yeah.
I think The Irishman honestly deserved it.
I was gonna say too, the de-aging wasn't perfect, but
it's
at least
fantastic.
it did something really that pushes the boundaries.
Exactly.
Because the way it was done, I think Scorsese was talking about, he didn't want to have like all that like prosthetic makeup, and not makeup, sorry, but the tracking dots on the characters or the actors' faces the whole time. So he had to invent like an entirely new camera rig where it was like 3 cameras shooting the actors all at the same time,
and they're infrared.
Yeah,
so they could capture the light of it.
yeah,
or something.
it was
It's
something
crazy.
super crazy like that. But I think that 1917 just had, I don't know, it had a like, okay, it covered up the lighting rig in the burning church with CGI flame.
in a building.
Wow.
Yeah, they like their minimalist special effects. Like they gave it to First Man last year.
Well,
So they
First
like-
Man fucking, swear jar. First Man went to space and made
That's
it
true,
look
good point.
super realistic. That's.
But they do like
On a low
reality. You
budget.
know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
reality for special effects. They don't give it to.
But that's what The Irishman is. It's reality.
So that's true,
But okay, I'll admit there are some uncanny valley moments.
especially in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
I'll
worst
say
right there.
the one I was on this Facebook page of film posting, and someone was like Robert De Niro in the World War II flashback in The Irishman, where he shoots the two Germans or Italians, whatever.
I'm sure it's Germans.
Doesn't matter. When he shoots them and you see the close up on his face, it literally looks like a cutscene from Call of Duty World War II, and you're like, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
But writing for adapted screenplay, this one won. Jojo Rabbit won that one. The nominees were The Irishman, Joker. That's a joke. The Little Women, and The Two Popes.
Yeah, how does Joker get adapted screenplay? You use a character and you get, like, it's the same thing with Logan. Like, I appreciate that Logan, back in 2017, at least, like, took elements from Old Man Logan. Mm-hmm. But, like,
it's also
Joker...
Children of Men. But yeah, Joker, I'm not saying Joker was badly written, but, like, it's the weakest part of the movie. Yeah. Especially near the end when Todd Phillips literally tells the audience what the theme of the movie is. Yeah. Through the Joker, like that movie is nominated for best adapted.
I think Jojo Rabbit got it because you have to straddle such a fine line when doing a Hitler comedy that, and you know, going either side of it will really mess up your whole thing. And Taika Waititi is brilliant at doing that sort of thing. He's the master of, you know, kind of the Wes Anderson-esque, but I think slightly less edgy or more. I wouldn't know where he falls on the edginess scale, but he's somewhere less or more of Wes Anderson. That's why
I haven't seen enough Wes Anderson to comment.
Okay, we got 9 minutes left.
Yeah,
we do got to move on.
Let's do to Parasite. This is the big
Parasite
talk.
Give me all the Parasite wins.
So Parasite won original screenplay.
Yep.
It won best international feature film. It won best director, and it won best picture. Those are the ones it won. Personally, I think it's deserved.
Every category.
Except I personally like Marriage Story better. At least for me.
Well, Marriage Story is it's just an actor.
I know. I
need to act. I need to create art.
But really, that's kind of just minutia. Like, it's like ranking your favorite kid. Like, how do you...
Sure.
Like, how do you do that? So Parasite winning all this is completely deserved in my book. I think it's fantastic. And it was amazing to see Bong Joon-ho win Best Director, because I thought it was going to be Sam Mendes, which nothing against Sam Mendes, because he was great. But I find it so... I don't know. There's part of me that's like kind of generic, like, oh, of course they give the technical directing to the award. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Bong Joon-ho rode the line between a great technical direction and great acting. I know,
direction. Which I feel like they never. That's not explained so much, especially with like nowadays with video essays and stuff. They don't explain how much directing is so much with the acting and just getting that down pat. So I appreciate that it wasn't the technical marvel as much as 1917 did deserve it.
I think the acting in 1917, this might be a hot take, but I think the acting in 1917 wasn't that good.
I disagree. That's okay, though.
Okay.
Pal, I know you wanted 1917 to win. What do you think?
I think that 1917 was a great movie. I didn't want it to be Best Director, though. I was just happy if it got the... what's it called? The best cinematography, because I think that 1917's main selling point was the fact that it was incredibly well made in the visual scale. But like we've talked about it's not amazing in its sound mixing. It's not amazing in its... I mean, it is amazing, but there is others that bested it this year. I think 1917 will be a special movie, but it will not go on to be, oh wow, this movie in 20 years.
Well, I mean, it depends.
The same way that we still watch Saving Private Ryan and we're like, wow.
I think 1917 will be like The Revenant. It'll be one of those movies you buy on 4K and be like, all right, I got this new Dolby Atmos system and a 4K projector. Let's test out my new system.
Yeah, and Revenant looks awesome. And it's like, wow, this movie's so beautiful.
It's so crisp. Yeah,
but then, like, you kind of don't remember the story that much, even though Tom Hardy is awesome in that movie and should have won Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, hot take.
Hot take. Okay. He's great in that movie. But I think Parasite's going to be remembered for years and years and years.
Parasite is a great example of how the North American industry can sometimes open up to amazing pieces outside of its reach.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I love that Bong actually acknowledged that. It's so funny his name's Bong. I know no one's talked about this.
What, Bong hit? Well, that's the whole thing. Like, it's a meme where it's like, oh, Bong hit.
His name's Bong.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's juvenile. The point is that I'm so glad that he, was thankful of both Tarantino, one, because Tarantino's a huge Korean film, or just foreign film fan in general, but for, like, recommending everyone, like, guys, go see Parasite, go see Parasite, go see Parasite. And Martin Scorsese, who he was also running against, going just for years to try and get foreign films more mainstream recognition, because one of Scorsese's best films, The Departed, is just a remake of a Korean film. Yeah.
Have you seen the original? Infernal Affairs?
No,
I have.
It's on my watch list. I haven't seen it yet,
It's
though.
surprisingly very Sam Raimi.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's cheesy.
It's very early 2000s, yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, now I got it.
I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought I would hate it, but I enjoyed it a lot. Anyways, I think Parasite totally deserved it.
One thing I did like about Parasite, and I don't know if it's like you guys liked it, but I like that it was political without being overbearing.
Without drawing attention to itself.
Because there are a lot of mentions of North Korea. There are a lot of mentions of
class.
Like class.
I don't think the North Korean mentions were really the statement the movie was trying to make.
Well, The House has a whole section that is dedicated to that fear of nuclear warfare.
Well, that's kind of their life, though. The critique, I think, someone again on Facebook explained it really well.
Much smarter than all of us.
Where it's like you're dumb. You're dumb if you think it's a condemnation of the rich, and you're dumb if you think it's a condemnation of the poor. It's a condemnation of the fact that these classes. It's the system that divides the two classes, and that the rich people maybe shouldn't treat the poor like crap, and the poor shouldn't try and take advantage of the rich people, and should be more ethical and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very balanced movie, and that's what I like. It doesn't pick a side, but it's still like very harshly political about the whole financial system. I guess it's unique to Korea, but you can draw parallels to the U.S. too in some cases. I mean, in most cases actually, but I think class divide in the U.S. is a bit more complicated than I made a cool app program and now I have lots of money and the person working for me is actually living out of a basement. So
very well said, Hunter. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thank you. I stole all from Facebook.
Is there any movie that would have won that would have like ticked you off like Green Book did for a lot of people last year?
What were the Best Picture
noms? The Best Picture
again?
Nominees were Parasite,
Yeah.
Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is there any that would have gone, okay, that didn't deserve it? Like
Ford v Ferrari in 1917. If they had picked that, I'm like, wow, you guys really know how to play it safe.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Really? You would think 1917, they would kind of just be like, whatever?
That is a play it safe pick, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get mad at any of these except maybe Joker, but that's just because. Or no, I shouldn't say that. Ford v Ferrari. I didn't like that movie that much. It's just kind of like a fun dad movie. So
it is very much a dad
movie. I feel like if that movie won, I'd be like, come on, really? You picked the dad movie?
Yeah.
But really, like, none of them were horrible. It's not like last year where.
All the categories sucked.
Even though I enjoyed Green Book, I understand why people were upset about it. But
well,
like,
I saw Green Book after all the hype, and I was just like, really? They gave it to this?
Yeah, it's weird.
Like,
it's a fun movie, but like, it's like, really this? Especially when like, well, I know you don't like Roma, but like Dunkirk came out.
Well, that's because the Academy doesn't like Christopher Nolan movies because none of them really capture that raw human emotion, except I think Dunkirk was like up there with Inception in terms of the most human movies he's made.
Oh yeah,
but,
I agree there. I agree there.
Sometimes I don't think the Academy gets Christopher Nolan as well as the film bros in their drive jackets do.
Yeah.
But still.
Or like last year when it was Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Panther in the category, it was like that's a joke. But this year was a great year for movies, so I'm glad that there isn't a dumb choice in here.
Yeah. They're all solid choices, but I was gonna say if 1917 or Ford v Ferrari had got it.
Is there something you would have put here instead? POW maybe, because you haven't seen these movies listed. What would you put here instead?
Why was The Lighthouse not there?
Exactly. Like, what would you put here instead?
Why was Uncut Gems not there?
Why was Knives Out not here?
What? You really didn't put Knives Out in Best Picture?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
You put Ford v Ferrari over The Lighthouse, Uncut Gems, Midsummer. The Academy are on some shit. Swear jar. I don't care.
What are the really?
We're over our time, by the way.
Oh,
we should wrap this up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're 6 seconds over.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's why I was signaling to the
Oh, sorry, I didn't
to
even
the
notice.
watch.
Anyway,
Um,
Pal, why don't you give us final words then? We can close out this Oscar discussion.
Final words. Okay. I do regret not watching a lot of these movies. That's for sure.
Pal, position yourself because the camera literally cannot see your face behind the
Okay.
monitor. There we go. Move the mic out. I wanted to say it the whole time, but
All right. I do recommend to anybody who watched the show who hasn't seen Parasite yet, go watch it. It's a great film. I feel like it has more political significance than we care to admit, not in terms of the story itself, but in terms of the landscape in the media that it is breaching right now, because it kind of bridges that place between like Western and Eastern media. It finally brought a production that is very high quality, very well made, and a very expensive and successful production to the West in a way that a lot of people respect it. And a lot of people have seen this movie. And I think that it's important to consider that just because a movie is not in English, it doesn't mean that it is inaccessible. We have to be more tolerant towards the use of subtitles. And yeah.
Well said, pal.
I
Josh
watch
is
anime dubbed. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to Film Rants. The people outside the room are literally peering through the glass waiting for us to leave. So, to that end, bye everybody. Thanks for listening.